Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pinellas County's eTownHall Budget 2012 event. I'm Al Rochelle, moderator for tonight's eTownHall, and thank you so much for joining us. Well, tonight we're gathering to discuss the many important budget issues and decisions that face you, that's right, and your elected government officials. By taking the time to join us, you're demonstrating how important this process is to all of us in Pinellas County. And yes, I am a Pinellas County resident, and it's very important for our local leaders as well. Now, tonight you're going to get some answers to your questions about budget issues that were sent in earlier in the day and the week via the eTownHall blog. Now, some of you are just joining us now on the phone and on PCC TV. And if you are, you'll also have the opportunity to pose questions for your commissioners. Don't hang up, though. You have to stay on the whole time if you want to be able to talk to us. But right now, we want to give you some, well, let's call it background information on what the current budget situation is and where we are in this budget process.
Hello, I'm John Woodruff, the Budget Director for Pinellas County. Thank you for attending this event. Pinellas County has started its budget process for fiscal year 2012. A key area of concern includes a significant revenue shortfall based on a dramatic decrease in property values due to foreclosures and high unemployment. The recession also continues to affect revenues from sales taxes, permits, and other sources. Balancing the budget will require very difficult decisions, as this is the 5th consecutive year of budget reductions, and it is likely that citizens will see popular programs and services reduced or eliminated. The goal for this year's budget process is to reshape Pinellas County government by restructuring, reorganizing, and realigning the organization to provide an efficient and effective array of services. To understand where we are, it is helpful to look at the circumstances that brought us here. The county continues to face significant budget challenges due to the combined effects of property tax rollbacks mandated by the state legislature, the impact of Amendment 1, which doubled the homestead exemption, further reducing property tax revenues, the real estate market downturn, and the economic recession. For example, in the general fund, where most county operations are funded, property taxes make up 2/3 of the revenue pie. Property tax revenues alone are anticipated to decrease $155 million, or 38%, since 2007. In fiscal year 2012, property tax revenue will be approximately the equivalent to the amount we received in fiscal year 2002. In addition, the recession has resulted in dramatic decreases to sales taxes, permit fees, and other revenue sources. This dramatic decrease in revenues has resulted in the elimination of 35% of the workforce for departments under the Board of County Commissioners. This is the lowest position count since 1985. The Board of County Commissioners is seeking public input to help meet this year's budget challenge. To see how your input will become part of the process, let's take a look at the timeline for the budget process. This year's budget process started last fall during several strategic planning sessions with the Board of County Commissioners. On January 25th of this year, the board reviewed the results of the 10-year budget forecast, a document which is available on the Citizens Guide to the Budget website. The forecast for the general fund showed a long-term shortfall of $30.5 million. Of this amount, $21.5 million is a shortfall for the upcoming budget year. In February, the Board of County Commissioners set a $21.5 million reduction target for fiscal year 2012 to address the forecasted shortfall in the general fund. Again, meeting the reduction target will require very difficult decisions, and it is likely that citizens will see popular programs and services reduced or eliminated. Throughout the budget process, the Board of County Commissioners is seeking public input to help make decisions for the community. In March, the county's departments and agencies submit their proposed budget submissions. Constitutional officers, such as the sheriff, have a later due date of May 1st. The budget submissions are analyzed by budget staff and county administration in preparation for work sessions with the board. During the months of April, May, and June, various budget work sessions are held with the board to obtain feedback necessary to develop the county administrator's proposed budget, such as millage rate policy, proposed program reductions, and revenue adjustments. Ideas and suggestions developed from public meetings such as this will be considered by the board as a key part of this process. In July, the proposed budget is prepared by the county administrator, based on direction acquired from the various work sessions and town halls conducted with the board and citizens. The proposed budget document presents a balanced budget for the coming year. Once the proposed budget is distributed, additional budget work sessions with the board are conducted to provide further guidance to the county administrator. The board may direct changes to the proposed budget as it deliberates during July through September. 2 public hearings on the budget are conducted in September. These hearings are another avenue for citizen input. At the first public hearing, the board approves the tentative millage rates and budgets. At the second public hearing, the board approves the adopted millage rates and budgets. All changes to the proposed budget are announced at each of the public hearings. On October 1st, the new fiscal year begins based on the adopted budget, and the annual budget process ends. Getting to a balanced budget and closing the $21.5 million gap will involve some difficult choices. Tough choices have been made over the past several years. That fact will make the current process that much more difficult. Beyond eliminating positions, adjustments such as cutting back on hours of operation and merging some departments have been accomplished. More will need to be done. As an example of program areas that may face reductions this year, let's take a look at some of the functions of county government and how they affect you. Your tax dollars and fees provide services that range from building bridges to protecting the community in a natural disaster. Departments under the Board of County Commissioners are responsible for a wide range of programs and services, protecting environmental lands, providing for storm drainage, protecting pets, helping to develop our economic future, preparing for natural or man-made disasters, providing ambulance, fire, and 911 service, allocating health and human services, planning future development, investigating consumer complaints, encouraging tourism, building better roads, and maintaining our award-winning parks are just some of the places your hard-earned dollars are put to work. The board's budget also funds the sheriff's law enforcement, detention, and corrections activities, as well as portions of the court system, the supervisor of elections, the property appraiser, tax collector, clerk of the circuit court, and many other important programs. Armed with this information, you can help us make some very tough choices. Again, we need your help in determining what programs and services your county government will provide in the future. The timeline for the budget process provides numerous opportunities to share your ideas both now and through the rest of the fiscal year. And in April, the county will be conducting a citizens preference survey by phone to gauge your priorities on different services and programs. For information on how to stay involved, go to PinellasCounty.org and refer to the Citizens Guide to the Budget website link in the upper right corner. Along with detailed information on the budget, you will find a form for submitting your ideas to us. You can also keep in touch with the budget process via Pinellas County's Facebook and Twitter sites. Just click the links from the homepage. Again, that's PinellasCounty.org. We hope you will take advantage of all of these opportunities to provide your input to this year's budget process. Thank you very much for attending.
And that was the Budget Director, John Woodruff. John makes some very important points, and we'll be discussing a majority of them with your elected officials that are joining us here tonight. So now, how about introducing our panel? To my left is County Commission Chair Susan Latvala. Susan, glad to see you.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And to my right, the Commission Vice Chairman, John Moroney. John, good to see you.
Nice to see you too, Al.
And here's the deal. I know all of these people, so I have little stories I could tell all of these folks, but we'll hold off on those. All right, next we have Commissioner Ken Welch. Ken,
Al,
good to see you.
Good to see you.
Also joining us, Commissioner Nancy Bostock from the school board, did many programs with you as well. And joining us is Commissioner Karen Williams-Seal. She's from my area, so she's going to fix my sidewalks. Oh, she doesn't know that yet. Next is Commissioner Neil Brickfield. Neil, good to see you.
Good to be here,
Thank you for joining us. And Commissioner Norm Roach. Norm, glad to have you with us tonight as well.
Al, thank you.
And rounding out our panel is County Administrator Bob LaSala. Now, we just want to give you a couple of warnings tonight that if you call us up on the phone, you can stay on the phone, but you can also watch us on TV. Come on, you're multitasking. multidextrous. You can do that as well. We are going to be on Bright House Channel 622, Nology Channel 18, and Verizon Channel 14. So you can stay on the phone and press the number on that phone, and we'll tell you about it a little bit later how you can actually get in there with your questions. And I'm also going to tell you that in a town hall meeting like this, an eTownHall meeting, the people that get their questions in first will be the ones that get theirs answered. So please, if you got a question for our commissioners, get them in as soon as possible. All right, Bob, we're going to start out right with you. And this is a question that comes to us from Tim Bryce from Palm Harbor, and it said, has Pinellas County performed an organizational analysis to study how effective the current organization satisfies the business mission of the county? Are we, in quotes, too bloated, too lean, or don't we know?
The county is constantly revisiting its programs and its services and how well we're doing. And in comparison to other urban counties, we have the lowest per capita tax rate of any of them, and we use a performance-based system to assess our progress and to evaluate our success in our programs. And that's going to be a continuing process that we'll enhance as we develop a new strategic plan this coming year. In addition, we work with the Florida Benchmarking Consortium, a group of cities and counties throughout the state, to gauge our performance and to gather best practices. So we're doing well.
Yeah, and you have to compare it with everybody else, because if you just did it internally on your own ground, you wouldn't know how well you were doing one way or another. So getting that comparison is good. Just one other thing, that if you're on your phone, all you have to do is press 0 to ask a question. That's going to be filtered to me through the command center in the other room, and we'll get those questions out here as well. All right, let's go to another question. These were submitted ahead of time through our blog, and this is going to be directed at Ken Welch and John Maroney. And Ken, I'm going to give you the first chance to answer this. Do you plan to reduce Pinellas County property taxes? And let's talk a little bit about the millage rate.
Well, Pinellas County's effective property taxes have been reduced for the past several years, starting I think in FY08, when the legislature required that we not only go to a rollback rate, but then reduce that by 7%. For the past few years, property values, as we all know, have come way down. And so therefore, with the static millage rate combined with lowered property values, we have lowered property tax revenues in Pinellas County by hundreds of millions of dollars.
And remember, and I think people tend to forget, this was a legislative mandate that we lower those rates, so it's not like something like Pinellas County government said, oh, let's just lower it.
Well, I have to tell you, a year before that, in FY07, the Board of County Commissioners did in fact lower our millage rate, and we did that in the span of a few weeks. Folks that own non-homestead properties came to our budget meetings and asked for relief, and we, in that short span of time between the first and second budget meetings, lowered that millage on our own a year before the legislature.
So then it was almost like a double whammy. You had already done it, and then the legislature came in and added on top of that. John, same kind of question to you about that millage rate.
Well, the board has taken a position to keep the millage rate the same. By keeping it the same, we're going to lose about $17.9 million, almost $18 million alone to the general revenue alone, just by keeping it the same. But I think over the last couple of years, we have had discussions on possibly looking at a millage increase, but there wasn't anybody there to take it. And I think that at this point in time, as of today, is that there will be no millage increase.
And let me ask you, this is a general question for somebody to answer. We got the results back from our census, and we found out there were only 2 counties in the entire state that lost population. Pinellas County lost population, and this question was posed to me, and I didn't have the answer to it. Okay, we lost population, but when we lost population, did we also lose tax revenue from that loss in population, or did things even themselves out because we knew we had a lot of people that were building the condos on the beaches?
I don't necessarily have that statistic, but I would think that anytime you lose the amount, and we have lost people in Pinellas, and I think Monroe County was the other county down in the Keys, that you are going to lose some, but you know, other people are coming down and spending money too, but our revenues are down because of assessed values, not necessarily because of people are spending less.
Right.
We just received some statistics yesterday at our meeting that things were pretty good in February for tourism, and we're really happy to see that. And I think what happened in March, I think the March numbers are going to be awesome.
And Susan, you were going to say something too.
Yeah. When someone leaves the state or the county, they don't take their property with them.
Right.
So that property is still here, and somebody's paying the taxes on it. So that revenue hasn't declined because of loss of residents, but sales tax was down when your population's down. They're not buying the things that we collect sales tax on.
Right. Okay. Let's go to another question. I'm going to kind of talk to the back room. Also, if you want to bring some more questions out to me here, you can do that. Or we've got a computer sitting in front of me, and no, I'm not Skyping with my daughter up in Michigan right now. But if you want to go ahead and feed me some more questions that we can ask our panel here, that would be really great. So, Susan, I got a question from you. This is another one that came from Marilyn Hall, again from our blog, and she says, along the Pinellas Trail, by the way, as a Pinellas County resident, dear Lord, thank you for the Pinellas Trail. I'm a biker, and I love that baby. Okay, great. Now that I've gotten my political comment out of the way. Along the Pinellas Trail in Palm Harbor, there seems to be a severe lack of brush cleanup and weed control. Any chance of cleaning up this jewel of Pinellas County? Could various programs be arranged with local high schools for students to earn community service points for working and cleaning up the trail? And that's for you, Susan.
Thank you. We are aggressively seeking to expand our volunteer program, and we've made it much easier to be a volunteer. We would love to have high school kids or anyone else become a volunteer and work in any of the departments that we have along the trail, in our parks, whatever interests them. There's a group that supports the trail as well for years, over 20 years, and actually they're the ones who lobbied originally to get the trail built, but they raise money and accept donations to assist with maintenance of the trail, and they've bought some of the amenities along the trail. So the cuts have been made everywhere, and like the parks, like every other department, you're seeing the effects of that. But we would love to have more volunteers, and anybody that's interested, please contact us, and we'll put you out on the trail working.
Now, specifically, was the trail in terms of budget cuts affected? And is there any more a penny for Pinellas money for the trail, per se?
There's money in the penny to expand the trail. We can't use that money for maintenance and operations.
Oh, okay.
It can only be used to pave it, repave it, or to extend a new phase of it. So that won't work. But Parks Department were cut, and the Parks Department maintained the trail. So that's what's caused the problem.
All right, we have another question that's coming in right now, and let me just pan it just a second to see who sent this to us. This was sent to us by Lance O'Bates, and he says, going after public housing fraud. I'm tired of seeing the parking lots of public housing filled with new cars. If you can afford a new car, you can afford rent. Make the housing for the people who need it, those who make the housing for the people who need it, not those who abuse it. Nancy, talk to me about public housing.
Sure. And certainly those are concerns that do need to be addressed if they're accurate. It's sometimes hard to know from the outside.
Oh, sure.
But concerns like that should be addressed to the Pinellas County Housing Authority, which operates our public housing, and that's a separate independent agency that's not part of Pinellas County government. Looking at some of those more generalized concerns with the state dollars we do control for affordable housing programs, which are a little bit different, who is eligible and who receives those services. That is something, different units of housing, but that does come through this commission, and something that we talk about and that we will continue to look at to make sure that those dollars that are entrusted to us by the state are spent as effectively and efficiently as possible.
No, because the economy has been bad, and anybody can answer this question. Do we see more people that now need more affordable housing? I mean, we just did a story on Bay News 9 of a lady living in a car. And
there's a lot of ladies and families living in cars, unfortunately, with this bad economic time, here in our county.
But what's interesting is the housing is available. It's the economics and the job loss that is really causing greater demand and stress on our citizens. So we really have to look at it multifaceted and not just look at it as a housing problem, but as an economic problem more generally.
Right. Also, just want to remind you that if you're on the phone right now, the way this works is that the county actually called out to a number of you that are sitting out there right now and asked if you'd like to participate in the program. Well, the way that you participate is not only watching it on TV, but if you're on your phone, you're holding it in your hands as well. All you have to do is press 0, and then you can leave your question for us. That'll be typed up, and then it'll be siphoned out to me out here, and then I'll ask it to our commissioners, just like this question, which came in right now for Norm Brickfield. And this came to us from Paul Ishman. Here we go. Okay. Pinellas public boat ramp fees. You offer an annual pass discount for seniors, but nothing for military or ex-military personnel. Seems to me you should consider our military, since one of the ramps is in War Memorial Park.
That would be Neil Brickfield.
Neil, I'm sorry. I'm going to call you Noel. Okay.
Norm.
Norm Brickfield.
Paul, that's a great question. We have a terrific boat ramps in Pinellas County, and we charge a fee. Last year, that fee generated about $450,000. All the money generated from our boat ramp fees goes back into the maintenance and care of the boat ramps. It doesn't go anywhere else. You asked about a discount for seniors, or we have one for seniors, that's true, and about active military and ex-military. I have an open mind. We have a need for revenue, but we certainly have a need to recognize people that sacrifice for us. So I don't think we as a commissioner have ever discussed that. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure after this question, we will discuss it at some point.
And no, because I called your name out and I was looking in the wrong direction, what do you think?
I would actually agree 100% with what Neil's saying. It's a tough time. Every department is affected, every piece is affected, and some of the things Nancy brought up in terms of the economic impact, some of the things that Commissioner Welsh brought up in terms of the Amendment 1 hit right after the board doing that. I don't think any of us sitting here, and I know I speak for myself, and I'm certain I speak for everyone, are pained with these decisions that we've got to make, and some of those are it. But I agree. We have to look at ways to recognize, obviously, everyone there and bring that revenue in. So this whole process, I think Administrator LaSalle said, it's all a redoing of our strategic plan. We're really at a point where we have to truly reinvent the way we're doing things in Pinellas County and look at every one of those aspects of it. Mm-hmm. It's tough, but at the same time, it's exciting.
Now, I want to mention something here, because I asked this when they asked me to host this. This is what I said, and I don't want you to take this wrong. I said, so are these 7 people, they've already agreed on everything, or are we talking about the thing? Okay, good. That's what I wanted to hear, okay? So you're going to have discussions, you have different feelings about each one of these areas. So has the discussion already been very robust, even though as we're watching this program, this is a process that takes months and months of gathering information. I mean, how do we feel like we are in the process? Are you getting enough input?
Oh, I think so. Absolutely. We're early in the process.
Okay.
So it's not, we haven't really gotten down to the wrangling among ourselves. We're gathering input. We've had 2 public hearings where we sat and listened to the public. They came to us and spoke. Mm-hmm. And we're always getting emails and phone calls and running into people in the supermarket. So it's an ongoing process, and this is the early stages of it. But by late May, early June, we've got the rubber meets the road.
Right. Okay, and this is kind of a follow-up from the same gentleman that talked to us earlier. He said, reduce the number and salaries of exempt employees. They are a luxury we can't afford. Bob, true or false?
Well, we've been continuing to reduce our entire workforce, and that includes managers and exempt staff, administrative, professional, technical personnel. Last year there were 200 layoffs, and 28% of those were senior managers, and 49% were administrative, technical, professional. So we're really trying to balance the organization. We're not balancing this budget on the backs of the folks who are doing the frontline service delivery.
So tell me, how many people are employed by Pinellas County?
Total, there's about 5,000, including the sheriff and the other constitutional officers.
Wow, that's a lot of employees.
Yes, sir.
But a lot of tough decisions. Let's go to another one right now. This is on tax. Go ahead. Yes, yeah.
Because we get asked that about exempt employees all the time. And some people have this feeling that if we just have frontline employees and nobody will supervise them, that everything would go great. Well, that hasn't worked in a single company yet. That doesn't work in the Army. Why do we expect that it would work here, that we had no supervision? You need frontline employees, and you need somebody responsible to make sure it's going
But don't you think that's what you, and I know that you hear it because even I do a program with the school board, and Dr. Jansen, Nancy, you know that, and that is the complaint we always hear with them as well. It always seems like the first thing, well, you're always top heavy. You're top heavy. You're not.
We're not.
Okay, we'll believe that. Let's move on. Next one. And John, you can answer this one. With 65% revenues from property tax and only 7% from sales tax, I encourage more consideration of an increase in sales tax or a tourism tax. Foreclosures may be decreasing, but county residents are still feeling the effects of the recession. Leave the penny program alone and don't add a local option gas tax. Now let's start with the first part of this. With 65%...
This is 30 minutes right on this.
Okay, is that that part correct? 65% of the revenues from property tax and 7% from sales tax. Is that correct?
Well, 7%. We have a 7% sales tax here in this county because of the 6% state sales tax, and then we have the 1% penny that we passed here, penny for Pinellas, that I'm sure most of your viewers know about.
Right, okay.
But as far as us increasing a sales tax, we can't do that unless we do it by referendum. The state sets the sales tax percentage, and then if a county's going to do something extra, then we have to put it out to referendum, and that's like the penny. So, and I don't think there's anybody out there, with the exception of this person who said that, about wanting to increase the state sales tax.
Right.
Now, as far as local, as far as the tourism tax goes, the tourism, we do have a tourism tax here in this county, and it's on hotel rooms. And the Tourist Development Council is the one who looks at the money that is collected from that revenue, and then they make a recommendation to us as a board, to the Board of County Commissioners, on what they would like to see, how that money should be spent. And sometimes over the last few years, we've not always agreed with them on every single thing. Right. We've had different priorities, but whoever's the chairman of the commission, and this year Chairman Letval is the chairman of the TDC. So we have a board member who sits there as the chair, and they bring it back to us as a board on where that, if that allocation is correct, or if we need to discuss it, and then we discuss and either agree with it or send it back, which we have done.
Now, did the county commission have any input or receive any fundings from the BP settlements, or is that completely separate?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
I was chairman last year when we received the BP settlement, and it was about $1.2 million, and that went directly right away into marketing and into sending out the message to the rest of the United States that we did not have oil on our beaches,
right.
Because we had huge cancellations. And I was just talking with someone earlier today. There is still the misconception that not only do we have oil, but the stuff that they use to break up the oil might be harmful to swimmers. And I had to dispel that whole question. But I also want to address that if we did do an additional 1 cent sales tax, the only place it could be put is into transit, and partially transit and roads. That's the only place it could be done. And then they also asked about the gas tax, and we have 5 cents that you could put into a gas tax, but quite honestly, with the price of gas, I think we would all be very, very reluctant to look at that as an additional source of funding.
We'll probably hit $10 by the end of the year. Well, not 10. I'm just, probably $4 is bad enough as we work up there. Okay, this one comes.
Al,
yes, go ahead.
Because as I'm reading this here, there's about the penny program.
Oh, yeah.
Leave the penny program alone. We are now in the third penny, which just started, this year, and actually tomorrow. No, at our next meeting, next Tuesday, we're going to be voting on the last major project of that penny, and it's $5 million. I think it was $5 million or 10 million. Bob and I were just talking about it earlier today on Starkey, and that's the last major big plan of this penny. So we are leaving the penny dollars alone, but we do look at it from time to time to make sure that it's going towards the right thing, toward where it's being prioritized, where the need is at, because we have moved it around, and it is important to do that because there's things that have fallen off that aren't necessary anymore, but other things have moved up it as a priority. So we're leaving it alone as far as we're not messing with it, but we're using the money wisely. And just to let people know is that with the economy being so bad, the penny for Pinellas has taken in 25% less than what it was anticipated.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Yeah.
so the penny...
And yet, for those of us that live in Pinellas County, who gets credit for starting that? Because that was a godsend. I know voters keep approving it, but who gets credit for it? Does anybody remember who put it together?
County Commission.
County Commission put it together.
Yeah, well, we went out on the last penny.
Neil, you can take credit for that?
I don't know. Neil wasn't here then. Or is it Norm? Yeah. Whatever. We went out and gave speeches all over the county, all the commissioners who were commissioners at that time, to speak in favor of it, how important it was to keep that penny. Right. And little did we know that the whole world was going to change over the next year or two right after that. I mean, we would have really been in the hole big time in Pinellas County without having that penny in
Right, and people really see that around the community as well.
All the time. Yeah.
Well, from an infrastructure funding particularly, and that's important.
Yeah.
It's extremely important.
That's why I told you there's so much to talk about on that.
All right, let's go to